All right, everyone, we should be live. We'll make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, of course. I do see people waiting for it, and I do see people in chat. So, yeah, it's all good. We've got some interesting stuff to talk about today. First, of course, for those of you that did not see the morning video, I had a disastrous and failed attempted trip to Europe the other day. And so that's why I'm still here in the United States. You can watch that video at your leisure. Things just did not go as planned on 5 or 6 different levels. It was an interesting time. We've got to talk first and foremost. Let's mention Biden's speech, which ended just now, like 20 minutes ago or something. He accidentally said Field Marshal Romney instead of Field Marshal Rommel. I just wanted to say why that's funny, because actually Mitt Rommel was my nickname for Mitt Romney back during the 2012 election. This is back before most of, 99% of you knew who I was. Thought it was fine. I thought it was hilarious. Had another image that I had made with his wife in front of like an old black and white picture of a cotton plantation, because she said something about like black people in employment. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I thought it was funny at the time. We've got some things to talk about. Biden at the D-Day commemoration ceremony the other day. He did not actually shit himself. We'll explain exactly what was happening here. Breach of decorum, yes. Senior moment, yes. Awkward, humiliating, and goofy, yes. He did not actually poop his pants, but it's funny to joke about it. So we'll be talking about what actually happened there. We've got the Trump VP vetting paperwork. Now, there are caveats to this. So we've got the Veepstakes going on. It's imminent that in the next couple of weeks, probably we're going to learn who Donald Trump's running mate is. We're not sure who it's going to be. There are a number of people on this list. I think the list is longer than that. These are just the ones that are confirmed. We'll talk about exactly why that could be the case. We have Miss Alabama, who's like 400 pounds. Keeping in mind, she's not the actual Miss Alabama. This was a separate pageant, but the pageant itself and the response was quite funny. So we'll talk about that. Rishi Sunak is insane. If there was any guesstimation you could make before about how his party is going to fare in the British elections, well, yeah, I think this would give a good indicator of that. Skipping out on the D-Day commemoration to go and campaign. That's not a very good look for the British Prime Minister, considering the UK's role, from formerly Britain's role in World War II. The ACLU is suing Biden, but not for any legitimate reason. They're suing him over something that's not even going to be a thing really at all anyway, which is a limitation on asylum applications at the U.S. border. And finally, there are molecules that have been obtained from sea sponges that they're studying. This is Science News, which may actually play a role in fighting cancer cells. So there's hope there. There's light at the end of the tunnel on that one. What do fuck? Fun for charging brick with AC/DC charging. Yeah, I'm probably going to be getting one of those for reasons that those of you who saw that morning video would find quite obvious. Blind Boy Gaming. So, Ben Shapiro, famous for not caring about feelings and detesting censorship, had the word Hamas fuzzed out in his Wednesday show. Wonder if this means anything. Shout out to Blind Boy Gaming. Yeah, absolutely. And check out his channel. Yeah, I didn't see that. Maybe it was meant as some sort of humor or whatever. You never know. Wartooth 88. Sticks, my sister is pregnant. I'm going to be a dad. Are you from Alabama? Jesus. Yeah, so let's first talk about Joe Biden and the supposed pooping incident. In this particular clip, what you are seeing is not Joe Biden actually taking a shit in his britches. What you see is him being old and feeble and confused and not knowing like where the chair was, so to speak, and attempting, it appears, to sit down when there's nothing there to sit on, then becoming confused and being half able to rise back to his feet. It was a breach of decorum. At this particular moment during the ceremony, he was supposed to simply stand up straight, but he's a confused old man. And so the problem isn't that he shits him. I mean, he does shit himself. He's probably done that multiple times. You know, it happens to the best of us. Like when I was in Texas that one time, that was when I was barely in my 20s. So that had to do with some unknown laxative species that I underestimated. Thought it was interesting because, you know, you see in all sorts of foods that you know nothing about. So I claim youthful indiscretion on that one. But Biden does it fairly regularly. I'm sure after he has his bran muffin and prune smoothie, sometimes, he goes doo-doo. Jill makes sure to lead him in there so he doesn't fall when he's in the toilet. Or the Secret Service has to do that. I'm sure that they're happy about this, by the way. Just imagine the smell. But sometimes he doesn't do the full doo-doo. Occasionally there's a little bit of doo-doo left in there and it, slides out later. I'm sure this has happened. I mean, when you hit that age, never trust a fart is the old moniker for that particular situation. But yeah, Joe Biden's not shitting himself here. He's just showing his age. He's not quite aware of what he's supposed to do at that particular moment. He proceeds to try to do what he thinks he's supposed to do, but he fails to do so because, of course, there's nowhere to actually sit at that time. And so it's funny. It's a breach of decorum. Not that anyone cares. I mean, if you think that Macron thought it was disrespectful or anyone else up on the stage or anyone that was attending, no, they didn't have a problem with it because they know that Joe Biden's out to lunch. He's 82 fucking years old. He's clearly lost his mind. He's got cognitive decline in a big way. And so, when your demented relative poops themselves, you don't blame them for it because they're incapable of preventing themselves once in a while from pooping themselves. It's different from if somebody is of sound mind. By the way, there is a group of people who have been biking around outside, it seems, all fucking day. They almost ran into the car, actually, when I went out earlier. It's just a little bit of an aside. So you might hear them too. Trucking stuff. Yeah, now there's more of them. It looks like a street gang, our local street gang riding bikes. It's actually just a bunch of kids, but oh God. Killer Kriegsman. Here's a thanks, Sticks. Thank you as well. Rickrod95. I don't know why Sticks would bother with contraptions like planes when he can use his wizardry to open portals between the US and Europe. Clank, clank. Oh, don't I wish. If I had the power of teleportation, that would be fucking great. Of course, I always thought about this. What if you could teleport, right? But, you couldn't take anything with you. Does that mean that when you teleported, all your clothes would be gone and everything else, so you'd just be teleporting naked? That'd be an interesting question. Would anyone be interested in using that power beyond, like, jumping from one side of the house to the other? Ego Mayhem. Sticks. I don't know if your phone takes USB-C or microcharge, but please look at Anchor Nano power banks. Little brick that plugs right into your phone and gets you 2 to 3 charges for like $20. Yeah, no, I'm sure that I can find a good charger for the phone and a little bit of an adapter. This one uses, I don't know. I'd have to make a video on the topic. I'm not phone literate. Swamp Donkey 69420. I'm glad they're putting Republicans in prison, to be honest. I hope they do it more. Maybe finally it'll make them grow a spine. Doubtful. The only time they have a spine is when they have a dick in their ass. Yeah. No, because the neocons are perfectly fine. What they're doing is imprisoning, people who actually have principles, mainly. Tigers are my totem. I'm shocked Biden didn't claim his son died in Normandy. Yeah, no. I mean, he claims that he died in the Iraq War, which he provably didn't. He was a combat veteran. So, yeah, I mean, thank you for your service. Sorry that you ate depleted uranium and got cancer, but he did not die in actual combat. Joe Biden misremembers this on a very regular basis, by the way. So, yeah, with the first news, Biden's not pooping there. It's funny to talk about. He has had moments before, though, where it looks like he may have had an accident, dookie doo-doo in his pants. I mean, I guess by D-Day, they mean doo-doo day. So, yeah, he's definitely an embarrassment, but I don't think he was actually trying to take a dump. And some people have put in, like, shitting sounds and stuff like that. You can look through it. Links in the description to all the stories I'm talking about today. If you look at that Twitter thread, it's pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah, he was trying to sit on the chair, exactly. But I think it was supposed to be pulled in closer. Like, people go behind him and pull him in, or they turn around and they take their seats. But he didn't realize it wasn't directly behind him. So that's what he's trying to do. He thought that it was time to sit. It wasn't. And that's the whole problem, because he had a senior moment. He didn't understand exactly what he was supposed to do. Tim was reporting on this. Oh, my God, he's pooping. No, it's actually worse than that. I mean, if he shits his pants, he can always put on a grin and, he can pretend otherwise. But when you're, crouching down to sit in a chair that's not actually right behind you, it was a dumb moment for Joe. Poor dude. He doesn't even know where his fucking chair is. This is supposedly the leader of the free world, by the way. Next news story. Okay, this one requires some in-depth analysis. Caveat to what you're seeing here. I do not believe that these are the only people on the list to potentially be running mates for Donald Trump. The list is 7 people. For some reason, some reports say 8, even though they only list the 7. It's like, I'm not sure. Doug Burgum, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, Elise Stefanik, and Ben Carson. Now, of these, of course, I've got ones that I would prefer over others. I don't see any A-listers here. I do see several fairly strong individuals. They'd be B-list, which is pretty better than Mike Pence, the D-lister. So I don't see anyone on this list that would annoy me to the point where I would really even raise an eyebrow. Like, it wouldn't be a terrible choice. And certainly, no matter who Trump chooses, and it could be someone who's not on any list, by the way, it could be a total dark horse running mate. That's always possible. Nobody knew who Pence was until he was announced as being on the short list. Nobody gave a damn who Pence was. That was not necessarily the greatest choice, by the way. I would have gone with the general on that one. Just to be clear, I castigated Trump for that decision. In the end, voted for him anyway. I believe that there are other people, however, that are in contention. This is only a list of people who have had vetting paperwork sent to, and they've confirmed it effectively. So they're confirming the fact, yes, indeed. So their potential campaign as running mate has been confirmed to exist. I believe that Tulsi Gabbard is still being considered. She's my top choice. I believe that there are others as well. I would be surprised if there weren't. I think that the short list is rather longer this time around than it was in 2016. But let's assume that this is the only group of people who potentially will be running mate. Let me look through them and talk about sort of what you would expect to see. And I think that one of these people may be vetted out of that list as of the last 24 hours, and that's Byron Donalds. I understand. I'm not jumping down his throat, and neither, before anyone jumps down my throat, I'm not jumping down his. Byron Donalds had an unfortunate moment where he appears to be praising Jim Crow. He was talking about black family structure and how back in the day, the family was more intact. Now, he's right. That is definitely the case. Yes, more black families were intact in 1945 than are intact now. The problem is that from his perspective, see, he's black. So he's talking specifically about his experience as a black man and sort of like the thing about black culture, or subculture rather, which is sensible. There's no problem with that. He's not being racist or excusing racism or any of these other things the liberals are crowing about right now. That wasn't the point. The problem is you need to know how to connect to people and effectively communicate if you're going to be a running mate. The problem for Byron Donalds is that he missed that moment. What he should have been talking about is family structure just in general, and as an aside, mention black people, because more white families were also intact at that time too. More Asian families were intact at that time too, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's been, for multiple reasons, there's been a progression away from the traditional family structure among many families. So intact nuclear family, the father, the mother, maybe kids, whatever it happens to be, extended relatives, that is broken down. Well, that's something you definitely want to talk about. You can dovetail that in with blackness if you want to. Focusing singularly on it was a bad idea, and it gives his enemies fodder. That's the kind of elementary mistake, giving your enemy more than one arrow in this case in the quiver, that you can't really have as a running mate. I believe this demotes Byron Donalds and is sort of like a Kristi Noem moment. Of course, when she releases her book right before the election and says, well, yeah, I shot my dog this time because it ate the neighbor's chickens. Okay, some of us understand the nuance of that. But you're not going to be treated with nuance by people who fucking hate you. They're going to use it to dump on you. And of course, she has effectively disappeared now. She was once my prime pick for the position for a while before Tulsi really sort of got into it. She's fallen off the face of the earth. Byron Donalds has that problem. Doug Burgum, he is reasonably well-spoken when he's allowed to speak. He is unassuming enough so that for personality-wise, I think that would go well with Trump. That'd be fine. The problem with Burgum is that I can't see what he brings to the ticket. I can't think of a voting bloc that would be more likely to say, hell, Doug Burgum is the running mate? Well, I guess I was on the fence before, but damn, that really gets me excited. Fucking Trump 24. I think that would be a relatively weak pick. There's nothing terribly wrong about it. He doesn't necessarily bring any horrendous baggage to the table. It's just, who cares? It's like, all right, Doug Burgum. Who's that? Marco Rubio. That is a difficult one to gauge. On the one hand, he's well-spoken. He has the political experience, relatively young. I think he's redeemed himself somewhat with the non-TDS sufferers within the Republican Party. Again, though, it gives Trump maybe a more of an edge in Florida. Well, that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. It probably he crushes Kamala. Although anyone on this list fucking crushes her, so that doesn't really matter. And he's got relatively speaking, he's got the youth. I think that's the most important thing he'd bring to the table. The difficulty is engaging what the effect would be among core Trump purists. So people who hate Marco Rubio because he ran against Trump to begin with. You might get a counterbalance with that. It's possible. J.D. Vance. I would say he's one of the two strongest on this list. He is, again, relatively young. He is a firebrand. The only problem I can see with Vance would be that he would clash with Trump because he is very forceful and well-spoken as well. He has that sort of stage presence thing. Trump, I think, would be reluctant to therefore, I think he would basically keep him in the background as VP. If J.D. Vance accepts that position and they win, he's going to be relegated even more than Pence was. That would be my guess. He'll be trotted off to foreign countries to be a diplomat, basically, and not be on stage with Trump very much. But if you're going to use him as a running mate, you're going to have to be on stage a lot during the general election at the very least. So that might clash. Nonetheless, I think J.D. Vance would be fine. Tim Scott. Tim Scott's very interesting. Again, more on the unassuming, quieter side, but I see someone else on the list, Ben Carson, who, if you're going for that, unassuming blackmail sort of feel, would probably be better. And Carson is very intelligent as well. And there's no big problem with Tim Scott, but sometimes his stage presence is a little bit off. I just think he can come across as a little bit wonky. And I think for some members of the Republican Party, it would be seen as a DEI move because he's black. You probably don't get that with a female, but you probably get it with a black male. I'm just saying that there are some people who would weigh that as a consideration. And if you wanted one, Ben Carson, very quiet, notably quiet, sometimes too much so. Very good, rhetorically speaking, very well worded. I think he'd probably destroy Kamala Harris more than I think anyone else on this list would be Ben Carson. Then you have Stefanik, of course. She's big in the GOP. She's an organizer. That would be good. Having somebody who's part of the GOP's own party organizational process itself is a positive thing. The fact that she's female gets you potentially part of that voting block if you wanted to go for it. Specifically, and in her case, probably college-educated females more than anything else. Nonetheless, it could backfire. It could be seen as, well, Trump is just diversity hiring this female. There would be people who would say, well, I don't want a female president who's not elected, and that is also of import. And this is the biggest problem, even with Gabbard, I would say. She's my top. I would prefer Gabbard over anyone on this list. The biggest problem is the specter of the first female president, which is eventually inevitable, being not hired by the people directly, but having ridden in because of a male president. And I just don't know how helpful that is. While I prefer Tulsi over these other people, that you do run that risk. Donald Trump is in his late 70s, so there is that risk. Of these, therefore, if these were the only ones, if I was Trump considering just these people, I'd flip a coin between Vance and Carson and call it a day. None of these are on the A list as far as I'm concerned, but there are people there that are better than others, number one. And there are people that probably bring you more votes in the end than the other. And if you're going to win the election at all and they're going to be VP, yeah, you have to win the votes in order to actually do that. That's just my opinion, though. Just my own thoughts. Tucka Woman, Sandy Ravage. I would like to shout out the Tony Martin era of Black Sabbath. Been listening to the new 89 to 95 box set, Anno Domini, which features the albums with Tony Martin on vocals. Very underrated era of Sabbath. Interesting. Sleeping Earthlings. With that list, I go with Byron for how he stood up against the Speaker of the House, McCarthy. I mean, that would be a positive point, yes. The Aviator 06, try KLM airline to Amsterdam sometimes. The service is superb with a nice aircraft. My favorite airline, you won't be disappointed. Moi friend, howdy. Have you traveled internationally with cats in the past? No, I've not traveled with a pet. Moose, worked about 60 hours in urgent care this week. Got you and Geeks and Gamers to ASMR too. Plus bacon and beer, lol. Need a garden update, brother. Yeah, there'll be a garden update, I don't know, probably tomorrow. It rained the other day and all through last night pretty heavily. Goth Hannity Fumo Plush Factory, can't sue me. Aquafan, as a Floridian, I'm not a big fan of Rubio. He's too lefty and a Catholic, although if he's VP, we get a better senator. I wrote in Trump for 2022 Florida Senate election. I want Gabbard or Vivek for VP. Vivek, I guarantee, is still on the list. It's just, these are just the people who have confirmed we got the paperwork. That's all this means. It could very well be someone not on the list. All of these people, I'm sure, are in consideration, or they wouldn't have gotten the fucking paperwork. But that doesn't mean that Vivek Ramaswamy comes out and says, hey, I got this letter today. Doesn't necessitate that he have done so. Opinionated Junkie, have you ever heard of a quarter life crisis? No, I haven't. The bonus holes, welcome back. If we aren't banned, rest assured that we definitely would have redeployed the "that motherfucker isn't real" chick meme we made on your last airline adventure. Oh, and Elon Musk is a penis head. Defunding the deep state. You've been an inspiration since 2015. Just started creating my own content. I can be found on X and Rumble as well. May I have a shout out, please? MAGA. Defunding the deep state. Available on multiple platforms. Let's see here. Shit. That's a lot of comments. I'm going to try to get to them all. Scott Steiner, the world's greatest ring announcer. YouTube has re-implemented election year censorship rules. Certain phrases talking about Joe's non-COVID policies, e.g. gun control, are now being auto-deleted. The censorship is even worse than the 2020s. It'll get worser, too. Wasted Bonehead, good morning from the grave. It's my birthday, Sticks. Could I get a spell for good luck? Yes, good luck be upon you. So have a good birthday. Now, I mean, if you eat the cake, though, wouldn't it just fall through your bones or something like that? You can't digest it. It might ferment in there. Maybe it'll turn into alcohol as an extra gift. The unintended, Sticks, does populism lean in a specific political direction? And if it does, if it leans left, is it sustainable? Or does it devolve into authoritarianism and centralization? Clank. I think that true populism, if it's going to be stable, it's going to require normal free market aspects, free trade, free markets, and things like that. I mean, you can have a populistic movement that is on the economic left, but they just don't work. Leftism is always more authoritarian. It's of necessity. Sigilstone. Good morning. Why is a skeleton celebrating his birthday? Doesn't his death day make more sense? And good work surviving a flight on Boeing. It actually wasn't a Boeing. It was an Airbus. This is only a 2-year-old plane. This isn't an old plane or anything like that. It just got fucked up. And it was a disaster. Trip Boom. Hey, Sticks, your video of the Ghost Army, the Fat Electrician, not a book, but he does great content about guns, warships, subs, the military units, more individuals that nobody hears about, and war animals. That sounds cool. Like all the horses used in World War I. Wasted Bonehead. Who says my birthday and death day aren't the same day? Sigilstone. I know for a fact Bonehead's birthday and death day aren't the same because I've been altering his birth and death certificates whenever I'm bored. Swamp Donkey. J.D. Vance has a soaked history of being anti-Trump, and his donor list is very sketchy. Vance is a joke and should absolutely not be allowed in. He is another snake in the grass. It's possible. Yeah. Wasted. Sigil. I don't respect government documents enough to acknowledge them as changing my birthday or death day. Sigil. Objection, Your Honor. The undead are pathological liars, and this one in particular is full of shit. Hee hee. Pablo Meal, have a great weekend. Thank you, you too. What do fuck? Trump's former chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, claims the VP will be Carson because Trump doesn't want someone who will be running for POTUS in 2028 on day one. Yeah, Ben Carson's perfectly fine. Wasted. Fun fact, stones don't have human rights, and so I'm asking you to deprive this one of the right to speak. That's for humans, not stones. Aquafam. Also, I know this is a ways off and you don't live here, but who will run for Florida governor in 26? I'm hoping Gates and or B. Donald's run. I'd also like to see DeSantis replace Rubio in Senate 28. Yeah, DeSantis as a Senate replacement would make sense. He could probably pull that off pretty easily. I don't know who's going to run for Florida governor. Stone. Stones are better than humans. Hashtag facts, especially the ones with sigils on them. We make the rights, not the juice. They answer to us. Dear God. I think it's because I didn't live stream for a few days there. There are more super chats than normal. I do have to get to our merch sponsors, though, before I get to the next few news articles. We have pumpkinfirecrafts.us, where you can get bookmarks, keychains, belt chains, amulets, engraved spoons. I'm having a Biden moment there, as you can tell, and much, much more. Use code STICKS, I believe, for a discount. BiltongUSA.com or AntonsUSA.com, also using code STICKS for free shipping on your biltong. Delicious meat. He's looking into getting kangaroo, so that's going to be exciting. I recommend bison and elk, and well, I recommend it all, but just try a little bit of a sampler there. There's also some Sticks Hexen merch available. They've got mugs, they've got shirts, and they've got tumblers. wickedneedleembroidery.bigcartel.com, where you can get Sticks Hexen Hammer hats, actually. Yes, with the Ouroboros logo, either offsides or centered with the wings on them. I like both designs myself. I think most people prefer the offset one. The Ouroboros is larger. Not sure. Maybe I should poll people. HeritageHeirloomSeedCompany.com, land of the seed survival bucket. Also land of the Sticks Hexen Hammer soap box with our special soap. It's got the little Ouroboroses actually on the soap wrapper. It's very artisanal stuff. It's really great. After 3 days of not showering, because for 2 days I wasn't even sleeping, I needed some of that. It's got cedar, clove, and blueberry actually is the scent. So it's really good stuff. websterswares.com/sticks-wares, where you can get all manner of cool shit. They've got Trump paraphernalia also on the main site, as well as other eclectic material. With the Sticks Hexen merch, you get, they've got knives, various kinds of knives with the Ouroboros engraved on them. They've got, there are jackets, there's metal straws, so you can save some turtles' lives, actually. Save the sea turtles from snorting up seawater. Get a metal straw and just reuse it forever. We've got jamandbean.com. That's jamnbean.com. Home of delicious coffees and teas. My favorite, of course, the Costa Rica blend. I think I've still got some under there. Maybe I need to shoot some of that down in the morning because, again, maybe I should have had some over here in the Ouroboros mug because I'm very... MTPew, that's mtpew.com, where you can get various ammunition. They've got both range brass and newly manufactured. You can get 45, you can get 40 Smith & Wesson, 9mm, 223, 5.56. There are a variety of pistol and rifle calibers available there. And www.brickmuseum.com. Yes, indeed, the Brick Museum in Blair, Ohio. Take a look at their site and go look at all the stuff that they've got there. I mean, the place must be pretty large. I've still got to potentially get out and visit them. They are open now. They're open through, I believe, the middle of August, if I remember correctly, or the end of August. And looks like some exciting stuff. If you like Legos as a kid, basically it's like going to heaven. So, that's always a good thing. Next news story. Oh, yeah. We already covered that one with the Veepstakes. So my analysis is I think there are 4 or 5 other names on the actual list, and those are just the ones we know publicly. Plus-sized Miss Alabama hits back at evil trolls. This is from Pink News, so it's very unbiased. Who called her unhealthy, amongst other things. Yeah, they invoke fat phobia several times here. Fat-phobic trolls called her unhealthy and an elephant, telling fans, "You are more than the evil things people say about your body." This is Sarah Milliken, actually. Now, Number one, this was not for like the Miss America pageant. So the official Miss Alabama this is not her. This was a woke pageant that was designed specifically for the state of Alabama, and it was partially around the so-called fat positivity movement. Fat positivity, I do not believe should exist. Body positivity is fine, but what it should mean is that not every dude needs to look like Conan the Barbarian. Not every chick needs to look like Barbie. There are a plethora of different body builds. Like, for instance, I'm just a skinny dude, so I'm a healthy weight. I maintain a healthy body, but I'm not Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, I'm not He-Man, obviously. Didn't we, by the way, have a cultural shift in the 2000s? I think it was. You remember back in the 90s when all the anorexic chicks were like the top supermodels and shit, and like some of them fucking died of exhaustion and shit like that. Because I mean, it's like, oh, I binge ate today. I had 3 Tic Tacs for breakfast. I felt so bloated. They clamped down on that for a reason. That doesn't mean that you need to go wildly off in the other direction and try to convince people that you can actually be healthy at any weight, because you can't. If you're Eugenia Cooney, I'm sorry, but you're not healthy. Don't believe she should be banned for being unhealthy, but at the same time, I weighed in on that years ago. But at the same time, no, it's not healthy to suffer from anorexia and be like 80 pounds soaking wet. And I don't even know if it's 80 in her case at this point. She seems to have reverted some. It's also not healthy to be I would estimate 350, 400 pounds. No, you cannot be healthy at that weight. It is not physiologically possible. You're obviously some combination of lack of exercise or poor diet is making this person fat, but not just fat. There's no problem with a little bit of chub. There's no problem with curvaceous, but here's curvy. That's a curve. This is also a curve, and that's typically not what we mean by, hey, curvaceous is healthy. This does not look like Marilyn Monroe, for example. It is fine to have extra weight, especially if you get older, when your metabolism slows down or something, you're like, fuck it, I'm 10 pounds overweight. All right, that's not that bad. As long as it doesn't become a trend and then become 10 more and then 10 more and 10 more. And that's the problem with obesity. It tends to be progressive, especially if it's in somebody who's young. She's 23 years old. This is not healthy. No, I mean, if somebody's a chubby chaser, they can consider it beautiful. That's, whatever. Some people are into feet. Okay, well, dangling a bunch of fake feet around your neck to them might be enjoyable. They might like the experience. The average person will be like, what the fuck? It's not healthy to be 400 pounds. No, believe it or not, your organs are all being strained by that. Your liver is strained by the excess fat in your body. Your heart is strained by being compressed. Your vascular system is feeding a lot more meat than it really is feasibly capable of properly feeding. You run the risk of diabetes and stroke and all sorts of terrible things. That's just the truth. You are unhealthy. That's truth. You are also fat, to use the generally agreed upon term. You are a fat individual. Not just fat as in, hey, I'm 10 pounds overweight, but fat, you're morbidly obese. You weigh more than the average 3 women. So yeah, trying to encourage that, especially who watches pageants, middle-aged women, I suppose, at this point. I don't think any of the TikTok kids really give a fuck about this sort of thing. Trying to convince people, yeah, it's okay. The fact that you're 100 pounds overweight, 200, in this case, 250 pounds maybe, is healthy. Trying to convince that basically the people that are saying that she's strong and empowered and wonderful and beautiful, you want her to die. You're actively trying to kill this individual by empowering their delusions. It's literally a delusion. You cannot be healthy if you are that heavy. To be healthy, if you were 400 pounds, you'd have to be what? 15 feet tall or something like that? I don't know, just as a guesstimation. Let's see. Holden Sneedmeyer. Money is on Kamala being the first female president. Wink, wink. And serving the purpose as to why repealing the 19th is a good idea. Sorry to hear about your travel problems, Taro. Yeah, it was a difficult time. Tasmanon. I'm sure it's Tulsi and it'll be a surprise. Trump doing the big surprise thing would be in character for him, by the way. Emperor Soft Turtle. Trump's VP pick needs to be a Kamala, not in character, in a way, and they will be as bigger problem for the deep state if they are in office. I would encourage that, yes. Make sure that the deep state is worried about that person being in office. Again, why you would want to choose Tulsi. Lambertus, did you watch Trump with Dr. Phil? What do you think of the interview? I don't like Dr. Phil, actually. I don't care if he has supposedly and topically similar political beliefs. I've never believed in that kind of TV show and find them terribly boring. The Beacon. There's a town in Maine where the mayor was recorded calling the local LGBT militant. He's now going on the apology tour and paying for his own re-education while the LGBTs are calling for his head. Interesting. The bonus holes. Send me, by the way, send me a Twitter DM of that story if you got it. The bonus holes. Happy womb eviction anniversary to Wasted Bonerhead. Glad he wasn't aborted, or was he? Yeah, that'd be interesting. We've got a fetus chatting with us on Rumble. Candy stuffed corpse. Breakfast burritos are delicious. That is all. I strongly disagree. Real burritos can be pretty good. Chimichanga or something. Tony the Greaser, what's up, cats and chicks? Just hit 1,500 followers on Instagram. Stay cool, stay confident, stay greasy. Oh, this is a funny one. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, I'll call him Sumac because that's funnier, apologizes for skipping D-Day commemorations to campaign for election. Oh boy, whatever advisor told him this would be perfectly acceptable is goddamn insane. Sunak attended the first part of the commemorative events in Normandy, France on Thursday, but skipped the international ceremony at Omaha Beach, which was attended by other world leaders and veterans of the Allied operation in 1944. The last thing I want is for the commemorations to be overshadowed by politics, Sumak wrote in a long apology on X. After the conclusion of the British event in Normandy, I returned back to the UK. On reflection, it was a mistake not to stay in France longer, and I apologize. Apology is not going to be accepted by goddamn anyone. They're either going to find it funny or disrespectful. On what God's green earth would you think that this would possibly do anything other than backfire? Who greenlighted this? Didn't one staffer or aide tell him this was a bad idea? Apparently not in his case. He's just fucking insane. I wonder which political party is going to have a problem come the election. I fucking wonder. Jesus. I mean, that's the sort of error that a politician who has no political experience, they're like 20 fucking nothing, and never held office before, anything, doesn't know what they're doing. Okay, if they make that sort of mistake, it probably ends their career anyway, but at least there's an explanation for it. When somebody's been at Downing Street for a while and all this other bullshit and, tea with the queen and shit, you'd think that he would have figured it was a bad idea, just saying. But he's a total loser. I mean, even his own party, I believe, thinks he's a loser at this point. Putor, hey Sticks, can you tell my friend Nelquan to give me my $170? Thanks, Clank. All right, Nelquan, you have to give him his $170. It's the right thing to do, Let's see. God, I'm going to have to cut the super chats off early, I think, today. Sigilstone, Gravestone, Sticks, you motherfucker. King of Biltong, good morning from Anton's Meat and Eat. 10% off with code STICKS10 for your Biltong on BiltongUSA.com and AntonsUSA.com. Use this code if your purchase qualifies for free shipping. Happy Friday, Clank. Get some of that meat, then you won't starve to death like Wasted did. Deplorable Pirate Captain Gunbeard, thoughts on Marty O'Donnell in Nevada's third? I don't have any details on Marty O'Donnell's existence. I do not know this person. So yeah, you'll have to send me some info if you can. Trip Boom, Webster Wares has definitely got some amazing knives. Great quality and sharp as fuck. Really can't wait for that Black Dagger one to go on sale. Yeah, my God, one of the knives in there, you remember I was on the shout out video there and I cut myself with it. I barely touched the dude. What do fuck? Apologies about my wife's superficial question, but she wants to know the brand of shampoo and conditioner you use. I told her you spend time in the sun while gardening, which helps. Yeah, I use actually some sort of purple shampoo. Shampoo is like Violet Crush for blondes or something like that, actually. My wife had left that here, Liz. And I just started using it because I ran out of the other shampoo. I'm like, yeah, what the fuck? I don't care. And it actually turns the tips of my hair slightly red. And it works well. It feels good. I don't care that it's made for women. It's Sort of like, when they make a razor pink, it costs 20% more because it's being marketed to the ladies. Sigil Stone, you need to stop being fat phobic towards this stunning and brave cholesterol American, you fucking bigot. Also, 6 foot tall, curvy, double D tits caked up is the ideal female body. Goodness. Pumpkin Firecrafts, good morning, Sticks and Clankers. Gemstone earrings now available, as well as mugs for dads. Pick up a mug and stick spoon for dad and some earrings for yourself for the lady in your life. Interesting. Sigil Stone News, I just saw the FDA rescinded its ban on Juul yesterday. E-cigs can now be back in stores. I thought they were still in stores. I don't know what's going on. Pre-59 Cuban, have you thought about flying through Boston to Montreal? JFK sucks. Well, Boston sucks too, as well. Montreal, I could do Montreal, I suppose. Maybe. I don't know. Sigil Stone, the Tories continue with the zero-seat strategy. It's devious, brilliant. No one saw it coming. This is almost as good as Sumac giving a speech where the Titanic was built, captain of a sinking ship. And a follow-up, any comment on Adobe TOS roofing their users? Louis Rossman did a good video on it. I swapped out, what is it that I use now? Just a sec. I got, I can't remember. Subscribers were sending me different things to replace Adobe Reader. And I got that. And as far as like Adobe in general, isn't that defunct actually? I don't know. Or maybe people use it on like legacy devices or something. I don't know. I don't exactly know. ACLU to sue Biden over asylum ban at U.S.-Mexico border. By the way, there is no ban. If you read the text of this bill, effectively, the border can be closed if there are a certain number of people that illegally cross in a given period of time. And that the asylum system can be closed off if the number of requests reach a certain threshold. The problem is that it's really not a fix at all for the border crisis. It gives Biden wide latitude to basically ignore it anyway. It means absolutely nothing. Nonetheless, the ACLU is inexplicably suing him over the policy, even though you know that it's just symbolic. Biden's not going to implement a freeze on people entering across the border. And how are you going to close the border anyway, asshole? You can't. It's impossible. You never finish the border wall. So if you're not willing to do that, and you're not willing to staff it, and you're not willing to actually physically deport people as they're attempting to enter, if you're not willing to physically restrain them from entrance because my international law or some bullshit like that, you're not going to accomplish anything. This will do absolutely nothing. In Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, migrants seeking asylum in the United States criticized Biden's move. This is Fausto Galanzuela from Ecuador. I hope Biden puts his hand on his heart and revokes what he has in mind of closing the borders. I hope he opens his heart to all migrants we see in the world attempting to cross into the United States. I probably didn't do that in Ecuadorian accent, but I don't give a damn. You see here, don't worry, Fausto. Biden's not closing the border. He's basically just making a symbolic move to make Americans think he's going to do something about the border, and then he's going to ignore the crisis. I don't know in what realm of reality the ACLU bothers to do this. By the way, it's a bad look for Biden to get sued by a far-left organization. The ACLU used to stand for free expression and things like that. They've pretty much backed off that. The ACLU used to be okay sometimes. Now they're mostly it's bullshit. Wasted bonehead. Sticks, I didn't starve to death. I drank 13 shots of Fireball before diving face first into a rabid gang of Antifa members. Well, if you had that much Fireball, you'd probably beat them all up and wouldn't die. So I don't believe your story. Sticks, don't be fat phobic. Beautiful at any sized coffin. Yeah, well, don't worry. I mean, she can join you in yours maybe if, you might have to do a little bit of home renovation. By the way, please send no more super chats. I got one more story that I got to talk about. It's science news, so it's really exciting. And I still got a few here to go through. Bulldozer, dude, thanks for all you do to inform the people. I've been live streaming Thursdays at 9:30 p.m. Central, and the last few vids are getting over 3,000 views here on Rumble. At Bulldozer74 is my channel. Clank, so consider that a shout out. Sigil, Bonehead drinks shitty alcohol like a basic white girl confirmed. and Adobe Reader is still around. It was Flash that was killed, now replaced by Ruffle, a Flash emulator for anyone interested. Oh, I didn't know. Nobody ever updates me on these tech things. John Andrew, Delta, don't ever leave the airport. I've had positive experiences mainly with Delta. I have no complaints overall. And I mean, I did get reimbursed a considerable extra amount. I mean, they gave me 330 extra bucks as reimbursement for the delay. They gave me a meal voucher, although it's, you know, it's a small amount of money, and also a voucher for a hotel, in addition to the refund of my ticket. So actually, it wasn't that bad. They did, yeah, most of the time they do a good job. But yeah, most of the time. And then the final news story. Molecules derived from sea sponges show promising effects in cancer and mitochondrial function. Yes, it turns out that there are a couple of compounds actually that are apparently able to be derived from certain sea sponge species that have a very interesting effect. The result focused on mycothiazole, or MTZ, a molecule found in the marine sponge C. Mycophysiensis, I believe I might be pronouncing it right, and its synthetic analog 8-O-acetylmycothiazole, or 8-OAC. These molecules demonstrated significant efficiency in inhibiting the function of electron transport chain, very important within biology, by the way, complex 1, a key component of mitochondrial energy production. Of course, the mitochondria, the energy for a cell, needs ATP. If you can starve a cell of energy, it will die. It'll wither away, or it'll lyse, be pierced, fall apart. It will stop functioning. But this particular pair of chemicals, apparently they found that it inhibits that function much more in cancer cells than it does in normal cells. So if you got the dose right, in theory, you could wipe out a person's cancer, if you can get it to the cancer cells and not harm them too much, while not necessarily causing any harm to the rest of their body. Now, there are a couple of potential complications I can think of without even reading the article based on my understanding of biology. If you gave them too much of a dose, you would make them wither away, possibly. If you had to do this for a prolonged period, and you presumptively would have to do so, you could inadvertently cause some other cell death. This could cause gangrene, basically, under the right conditions. You have various problems. You could kill off brain cells, for example, or something like that. I don't know if these can cross the blood-brain barrier. You could give them anemia. So you probably want to do a lot more research before you do a human clinical trial on this, but it's still exciting if they can find that there's a significant inhibition of cancer cells' ATP production such that they're able to be destroyed, but it doesn't weaken other cells in the body nearly as much. Depending on what that balance is, it could be very good for cancer patients. So it's something hopeful to look into. Again, please send no more super chats, everyone. Wasted. Fuck off, Sigil. I drowned in poo. It's why Sigil poos in my grave. He's a secret Antifa member. Sigil. No one updates you on tech because you're a fucking caveman. Complete tech illiteracy. Oh, no, I'm actually good with some tech. I'm not a phone person. And I was not made aware by Adobe that it had been replaced by an emulator. Aquafan, send no more super chats. You never said anything about sending more Rumble rants. Haha, take my dollar. Yes, please no more Rumble rants either. It's me again, Sai. I made a video this morning on that topic, so you can check that out. There was a travel disaster the other day. Sigil, new merch partner alert, Sig Shits and Bits. Bits from Shits, free sewage delivered anywhere. First Watto Bonehead. It killed him, a job well done. Order now for bonus delivery to Bonehead's grave. The Dashing Rogue, since your trip was postponed, would you be willing to be a guest on my podcast a little sooner? Everything is still very much in flux with my schedule right now. Now is a very stressful time for multiple reasons related to travel, because I fucking hate planes, actually. Once you're up in the air, it's all right, but you know. Wait just a sec. Did I already read that one? No. Eric CB912. I like Rand Paul, but he's taking too long to endorse Trump. He had already endorsed him in 2016 anyway. They're clearly fine with each other. No, it's more like Rand Paul is probably being groomed to be the leader of the Senate Republicans. Sigil. Oh, the emulator isn't from Adobe. It's a third-party project. I think it's open source too. Sounds cool. I'll have to take a look at Ruffle, I suppose. Anyways, everyone, I'm going to sign off now because I've got other things to do. 10 million of them, unfortunately. Like eat at some point. As usual, I never eat breakfast because it helps give me more energy for my work. I need some more caffeine, though, as well. And I can't do it without another Red Bull, I suppose. And go outdoors. I'm going to see all the weird work that they're doing up out back. I don't even know what their construction project is at this point. I don't know. Keep in mind, I don't go live on the weekends. I will be back on Monday, and I'll be on the Quarterings live stream presumptively as well. That's mine are always at 11:30. His are at 5:30 p.m. And so, yeah, we'll be doing lots of stuff. Got to do 10 million piles of work, you know. It's just the way that it works. That's about all. Peace out.